Welcome everyone back to the boudoir. I am your host Aisha Jones and this is episode 8. Spring has sprung, okay, which means it is time for new energy. It is time for a new mindset. It is time to do a little bit of spring cleaning for our brains, okay? Because I feel like we are getting ready to experience and touch so much abundance very, very, very soon. You know what? I'm sensing we need a little mindset tune up, okay? Because a lot of us I've been hearing are out here doubting ourselves, turning down opportunities and turning down achievements because you have just decided, I can't do it. It's too hard. It's not for me. I'm not meant for it. Not on Aisha's watch, okay? Okay, we're not doing that on the boudoir, all right? So we have to do a little bit of a mindset tune up, okay? We are going to stop whining and we are going to start winning. So if you are ready to dive into this topic, make sure you, of course, subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you are listening to the audio version on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you rate me 5 stars. Now let's get into the show. So unfortunately, sometimes life, it seems like they're just throwing so much at us. It's like we're trying to dodge and duck and dive everything that's coming at us. And then because, our circumstances may not be ideal, or it seems like, things are happening outside of your control, it tends to internalize and it tends to become your norm, and you just start thinking like, man, I guess everything is like this. Like I guess I'm not meant for X, Y, and Z, or I'm not meant to have this type of relationship. I'm not meant to have this type of job, or whatever your situation is. And it can be tough sometimes because there's so much going on in this crazy world, and it can get to you, and it's human and it's natural for all of that to get to you. But it's important to realize that just because things are happening in your external world doesn't mean you have to let it infiltrate and taint what's going on in your inner world. If possible, try to keep your inner world as beautiful and wholesome as you can, because it's literally yours to do with, yeah, things may not always be perfect on the outside, right? Like, let's be honest, life be lifing. Sometimes life just throws you curveballs that you weren't ready for, or you may have to, adapt to a new situation or be uncomfortable. And it sucks, and when that happens a lot, you can tend to internalize that and in turn make yourself a victim in your head. You tend to feel like you are trapped and there's nothing you can do about your circumstances, and this is just what your story is from now on. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. And I'm here to tell you that yes, while it is okay to feel your feelings, and if you truly feel overwhelmed, I hope that you have, friends, family, resources that you can use to help alleviate that. And, hopefully this video helps you with some of the tips I'm going to give you today. But I just wanted to spend this first part talking about how, I don't want to act like, people don't just get victim complexes or whatever you want to call it just out of nowhere. Like, sometimes things really are just bad and they suck. Like, there's no denying that. And that could be objectively true. But it's important that you have enough internal strength and you have methods to kind of cope with what's going on and still be resilient and still at least try to get to where you want to be. So that is exactly what we're talking about. And you know what? Whining and complaining about your circumstances is just cathartic, right? Like, everybody likes to complain sometimes. It's fun. I like to rant. I like to complain. It just feels good, right? It's like cursing. Like, sometimes you just need to let out a curse word because it just makes you feel better. Like, the intensity, you just need something to channel that intensity. So I get it. Complaining is fun. And especially when you're with a group of people, if you are all in the same similar situation, it's fun to complain. But it's important, again, like I'm saying, to not let that become your baseline. And don't let that become your way of living. Like, it can turn into a very negative, pessimistic mindset that can actually hold you back from achieving what you want. And it's easy to feel helpless. It's easy to feel like, it's just becoming too much for you to handle everything that you have on your plate. So hopefully these tips help you go from victim to victor. Let's go. So if we're going to tackle this mindset and we're going to get out of this like pessimistic, nothing's going my way, nothing good is ever going to happen, I'm not worthy of X, Y, and Z, we got to get to the root. I always like to, sift through all the garbage and whatnot, and we got to get to the actual root, okay? So the reason why the victim mindset can actually hinder your growth and possibly even block your blessings Well, first, actually, before I go into that, I actually want to say this part. Okay. So I love analogies. I love literature. So let's come up with a little analogy here, right? So picture your brain as your phone or a computer, because our brains basically are data. Like, it's just a collection of data, like a computer. So you know how sometimes when you go to your phone and you try to open like TikTok or something, sometimes instead of saying open, it'll say update. That's basically what healing is, okay? There's nothing inherently wrong with the app itself, right? Like, the phone still works, the computer still works. It's not like, the phone's broken and you need to get a new one. You just need to update the app, or you need to update the software. If you're used to having a mindset where, nothing goes my way, you're saying all of this negative self-talk, and you're just, not being very kind to yourself and very open-minded about the possibilities that could happen. If you're used to running on that type of software, you're gonna have to update it and change it into something that works better for the computer. When we're in this victim mindset and we're thinking that, the world is crashing down on us, a lot of the times, because we're so focused on the negative or what we don't have or what we're lacking or what we're missing, so to speak, you don't actually realize how much power you intrinsically have, because you've already surrendered to the idea that, oh, well, things like this don't happen. Good things don't happen for me. So, why try? Why bother? Like, you don't give yourself the chance to actually try to make something. You don't give yourself the opportunity to at least try to prove to yourself that you can do whatever you're trying to achieve. And honestly, the reason why we choose to go down that route is because, think about it. It's easier to sit around and complain and bask and harp and ruminate on all the bad that's going on than it is to decide to put one foot in front of the other and to change it. It's easier to navigate that because it's almost like you can predict what's going to happen. You feel like you have a sense of control, because if you've already decided that the odds are not in your favor, you don't have to try. You don't have to give any effort. So you're protecting yourself from the rejection that you don't even know would have been there because you didn't give it a try. When you're in this low point mentally, like, I've gone through so many depressive episodes where I don't see any light. Like, it's just dark cloud, dark cloud, dark cloud. And you're not like actually looking at what you have around you because you're so focused on what's in your head. Depression, all that stuff, it's very cerebral. And this is not like a depression cure video. This is just like, if you are very pessimistic, which could be a symptom of being depressed. And I only say that because I've gone through it, but like, I'm not a therapist or anything. I don't know. I always feel like I gotta like cross my T's and dot my I's because I just want to make sure, I'm being very transparent. But when you're in that mindset, it's very hard to see the bright light at the end of the tunnel. It's hard because, you've already trained your brain to think a certain way. But you have to remember that you're a lot braver than what you give yourself credit for. And sometimes you just have to like literally brute force yourself to at least try, do something. And then another reason why, being in this victim, stuck, learned helplessness mindset could be because we kind of like the feeling of being pitied sometimes, right? Like, how many of us, I'm sure we've all done it. Come on, let's be honest. If you're having a hard day or if you're just having a hard time, it's nice to just dump and vent and let the load off of your shoulders and just, go into all these details of all these things that are going wrong in your life, right? Because what comes with that? We get the sympathy, we get the people there to be a shoulder to lean on. And of course we need that. Like, we need community, we need support in our lives. We need people that are going to be there for us when we need it. That's never a problem. However, that can get addictive sometimes. Like, that cycle of complaining and then getting the sympathy and the oh, poor thing, like the shoulder, it can be addictive. Just be careful that you're not leaning into the dopamine of having people, almost do your emotional labor for you, because that can get very heavy for the person on the receiving end. So just be mindful, like, have enough strength within yourself to figure out ways to cope with what you're feeling, but also, yes, it's great to have the support and people there around you when you do need it. Don't be too much in one direction or the other. Now let's talk about how we're going to get out of this slump and we're going to become our most positive, upbeat selves yet for the spring. Please bear with me. Some of this might get hustle culture-y at points. Just hear me out. I promise I have a great explanation for all of them. We are going to have to take our power back and remember that we have a lot of power and strength within ourselves already. Here's how we're going to do it. This is the first thing you have to do. Do not skip over this step and try to do the other things because it's not going to work. You're going to end up back in the same place you started. You absolutely must acknowledge all of the things that you are harping on, no matter how difficult it is, no matter how embarrassing it might be to say out loud. If you feel hurt by something someone did, you have to acknowledge that. Don't try to, be too ego driven and try to act like, oh, I'm just angry at the world and everything's just, blah, blah, blah. Be honest. Think about the people that have hurt you and the things that you are ruminating on. Don't try to skip over it. Be honest with yourself and say, you know what? The way that person said X, Y, and Z to me, that really did hurt my feelings. And I'm honest with myself about that. Like, that truly did hurt my feelings. It made me feel disappointed. It made me feel abandoned, unwanted, whatever the case may be. But you have to actually identify what you're feeling and put exact words on it. Don't just say, I'm sad, I'm mad. Like, actually explain to yourself why you're feeling the way you're feeling, no matter how long it takes, because you have to actually acknowledge that you do feel a little bit of hurt or whatever you're feeling, because that's why you feel like a victim. You feel like you've been wronged. You feel like somebody has committed some sort of injustice towards you, and you want that wrong to be righted, right? You want that wrong to be righted. If you were applying for a dream job and you did X, Y, and Z, everything you needed to be the exact candidate they should have picked, and you didn't get the job, acknowledge that you feel hurt. Say explicitly what you feel. I feel hurt that I put in all this work and I did not get the recognition that I wanted. You just have to be so completely honest with yourself. If you need to feel angry and upset and kick and scream and cry, do that. Literally, it's better to feel the anger and feel the hurt and do whatever you have to do than try to cover it up and bottle it up because, I'm too prideful to feel hurt. No, be honest, feel it. And the more you feel it and the sooner you feel it, the sooner you'll get over that feeling. But sometimes you just have to go through things, no matter how icky and uncomfortable it may feel. You just have to be honest with yourself. You might be angry for a few days. You might be angry for a few months, for a few years, depending on, whatever hurt you, depending on how tough it was. You just have to go through it. But again, you can't skip this step because you have to kind of go through the stages of grief or whatever in order to get through it. And also just remember that feelings are temporary. You may want to wallow in self-pity and cry and scream at the TV while you're watching Love is Blind because you went through a bad breakup for a couple weeks, and that is well within your right. Whatever you have to do to process what you went through is fine. You just have to do it. Take a few months to yourself, just be a hermit, be recluse, and just focus on you, but definitely feel and acknowledge what you are ruminating over. Otherwise, none of this is going to work. Trust me. Okay, here's another one that I recently discovered, and this one is for the truly emotionally mature people. Trust me. Okay, I'm still having trouble with this, but try not to focus on what happened and who's right and who's wrong, because a lot of us, we ruminate and we feel like a victim because we're so focused on, well, they were in the wrong, they did this, they, and it's it's easy to get caught up on placing blame. It's not to say that you're wrong about the other person. I don't know, let's say an ex, for example. You have a right to say that that person was in the wrong if they were genuinely in the wrong. But the less you focus on pointing the fingers at people, if you already know what you already know and you already know what the objective truth is, there's no point in harping on it, because that's what's going to keep you stuck, and it's going to keep you feeling small, because you're going to be like, well, I shoulda, coulda, woulda did this. Well, if I would have did this choice, well, if I wouldn't have gone with him there. You can't go back and change time. I'm sorry. As much as we would all love a time machine, sometimes you can't. Just accept that this is how the chips fell, and you just have to move accordingly now. I think we get so caught up on who did what and what happened and this is what happened. Like, we can't get past it and actually move on. Like, and sometimes if we're really truly honest with ourselves, sometimes it's not always just on that one person, right? Like, there's your side, there's their side, and the truth. And then we all have feelings and emotions and egos and stuff, and like certain things might sting and hurt more than it does the next person. And honestly, if that person was the villain truly in your story, just it's not worth it trying to focus on making, because what you're trying to do, honestly, it's like you want them to see that they were wrong. You want them to see and understand that their actions were wrong. And some people just may never get to that point. Some people just lack the wherewithal and the self-awareness to see when they've played part in a situation, and they may never see it your way. But don't waste time trying to convince somebody of what you already know is true. Just move on. Like, seriously, don't waste your time trying to explain something and point fingers. Like, it's just not worth it. It's not worth your time when you could be using that time to actually heal yourself and move on. If you gotta curse them out in your head, curse them out in your head. If you have to have a death note journal and, write all these things, you gotta do what you gotta do it, okay? Do what you have to do, but just stop focusing on, well, they did this, they did that, they did that. Who cares? That's not what's important right now. They did that, okay, and now what? Okay, they're in the wrong, and then now what? Like, what do you want us to say? Like, you have to move on. As much as you may know, I know you want them to know that they were wrong. I know. But it's like, that is not conducive to your healing. You are letting life pass you because you want this imaginary trophy for getting your feelings hurt. It's a part of life. It happens. And sometimes certain bad things happen to certain people, and some people may never experience certain things. It's just sometimes life deals people shitty hands. And yes, we want justice. We want to fight for what's right. But sometimes it's just not worth it. Sometimes you just gotta, okay, whatever, and move on. And then move on. Like, trust me, like, this is going to get you out of that, like, ruminating, cycling on the same thoughts type of thing. Like, are you guys those people that like make up fake arguments in your head, or like you replay situations that you wish you would have spoke up, and like you create fake arguments in the shower of like what you would have said now? It's too late. Move on. Like, that was 12 years ago. Move on. Like, sorry, you didn't speak up. Just move on. It's a hard one that I had to learn too, trust me, but it's like you're wasting time that you could be focusing and using that on yourself. So just move on. Okay, number 3 is practice gratitude and be grateful for what you actually have. Like I was talking about in the beginning, I think it's easy to focus on what you don't have and what you're lacking. And, I want this relationship, but I don't have it. I want this job, but I don't have it. Try to focus, as hard as it may be, focus on what you do have, no matter how small it may be. The fact that you're inhaling and exhaling right now is something you should be grateful for. Like, seriously, I don't mean that to be flippant. Like, the little things matter. Having running water that is clean is something you should be grateful for. Having a closet full of clothes, maybe you don't have all of the clothes you want right now, but you have something to clothe yourself with. You have a phone, you have a computer, you have Wi-Fi to watch me. But like, you have things to entertain yourself. Make it a habit to be thankful and grateful for the little things, because eventually you're gonna retrain your mind to see the good in things. Like, you're gonna eventually notice a change. Instead of focusing on what I don't have, you're gonna focus on, wait, but I do have this, but I do have that, but I am happy, but I am alive. Like, I do have the power to make today a great day. Because you do. It may take time to see that change, but like, the more you practice gratitude and the more you are thankful for the little things, and come out of your head and come out of the clouds and be more grounded to the earth, and like, just look ahead and look at what you actually have and be present. Each and every second of the day, be present and just be grateful for what you have. Number 4 is to remember that life is just simply happening and to not take it personally. Sometimes bad things just happen for no reason. It's not about it being a greater purpose or you have to go through this in order to understand. So while you may be going through things in life, that doesn't mean these things are necessarily happening to you. Like, it's not like life is picking you out specifically out of all 8 billion of us and saying, her, them, we want them to have a shitty day. Like, sometimes it just happens, like happenstance, you know? So try not to take it too personally. Try not to fall into this, why me, everything always happens to me, all these bad things. Like, it's not personal. Sometimes it's like, life just, here you go, here's your shitty card, and it sucks. But it's like, as bad as this sounds, bad things happen to everybody. Like, we all can't always have, you know, a beautiful gumdrop sunny day. Like, sometimes bad stuff happens to all of us. You're not alone, you're not the only one. And again, that's why the importance of community and getting hobbies and going outside is important, because when you're alone and when you're stuck in like your own echo chamber of thoughts and recurring thoughts that you're having, it seems like you're isolated and alone and you don't reach out to people. But you have to remember that like there's so many people on this earth. You're not the first person to go through something. You're not the first person to go through a breakup. You're not the first person to go through a layoff. Like, learn from other people and reach out to people. And just remember that each and every day we're all making minuscule choices that could lead into bigger things, right? You exercise daily, you could have a great physique and a great, you know, like a longer lifespan. If you're drinking every day, you may shorten your lifespan. Every second of the day, you're making a choice. You can either sit in bed and scroll on your phone, you can make a bowl of oatmeal, you can make cereal, you can make pancakes from scratch. You can literally choose to do whatever you want in your day, because there's nobody there telling you how to live your life. Like, it's literally all up to you to physically make whatever choice you want. So like, you have power over the choices you make. Don't forget that, like, you're not just some NPC who's somebody's controlling how you do things. Like, no, you move your body, you make the conscious decision to text somebody or to go take a trip somewhere. You make the choice to do what you want. I think this is number 5, but the 5th tip is mindset. It is all about the mindset, y'all. If your default mentality is, all these bad things always happen to me, I never get picked, I never do this, I blah, 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 you know, just blah, rain cloud, thunderstorms, boring, pessimistic, you're going to consciously and subconsciously make choices that align with that attitude and that mindset. Whether you believe it or not, it, like I said, consciously or subconsciously, you're going to make choices that align with that and that make that become a reality. Because, you know, if what's the point of me applying for this job? Why would I get picked? I never get picked. Well, you made the choice for you because you didn't give it a try. So yeah, of course you're not going to get picked, because you're not putting yourself in the position to be picked. You're not making friends because you're not leaving your house. You're not meeting people, you're not meeting partners because you're not leaving the house. You're not joining clubs, you're not taking classes, you're not putting yourself in proximity with others. As much as I wish they could Amazon deliver friends and a boyfriend and all this stuff, they just simply don't do that. And like, as a homebody introvert, I'm sorry to tell you, but we gotta leave the house sometimes, and we gotta put ourselves in uncomfortable situations. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I'm just saying, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, okay? So as cliche as it sounds, as corny as it sounds, how can you know if you don't try? That's why that mindset is important. You have to have a mindset of, I can do anything I put my mind to. Even if I don't get chosen for this opportunity, this scholarship or whatever, at least I'm trying and I'm practicing putting myself in positions to be, you know, chosen for whatever I want. So if you need to listen to positive affirmations or even, you know, frequencies for clearing out negative energy and negative thoughts, journaling, move your body, be active. I always find, and as much as I hate that this wasn't true, but it is true, it really does help to work out sometimes and just get those endorphins going, so that the negative energy that's sitting in your head can like exit your body through your sweat and stuff. Like, seriously, like, sometimes you really do gotta dance it out, shake it out, and bust a little jig, but you gotta do something. That's the thing. Like, you have to do it. When you move and you have a mindset of I am strong, I can do anything, I'm protected, I have a strong support system, you will move accordingly. You will take inspired action towards the things you want because you have already made it clear to yourself that undeniably it's true that I am worthy of what I want. And while I might not get everything I want, I'm still making the effort to do so and at least try. You can't complain about something and then not try. And that's my next point, okay? This one is going to be a hard pill to swallow. Now, like I said, we have to be honest with ourselves. If you know you have destructive habits and you procrastinate, you have to be honest with yourself and you have to make adjustments that are going to help you. And I am the master procrastinator, okay? My whole life, I would leave papers last minute, all that stuff, okay? But guess what? If you have not cleaned your room in a month, you cannot be shocked and confused that your room is dirty, okay? You're the only one that's living in it. Who else would have done it? It's you. You can't be surprised. If you were assigned an essay 2 weeks ago and it is now 11:59 on that due date, you are not a victim. You knew that you had that paper to do. You're not a victim. You just need to get better planning skills that will align with your lifestyle. Now, honestly, I'm not even going to hold you. When I would procrastinate my papers in college, some of my best work was procrastinated, okay? And you know what? I still do procrastinate sometimes. Sometimes, I will literally film, edit, and upload a podcast episode on Monday. And I have my shows go live on Tuesday because I just procrastinate. But I can't call myself a victim when I do that. Like, I knew I had all these days. I usually film on Thursdays or like sometime during the weekend just to give myself enough time to edit and stuff. But like sometimes I do leave it for the night before. But I can't be surprised and shocked and, overwhelmed when I did it to myself. So I just accept it. I'm like, yeah, I know I left it. I know I partied all weekend or I laid in bed and watched Love is Blind all weekend, but it didn't touch my podcast. You just got to be honest, but you can't act like, oh my God, you did this. You can't be surprised. There's going to come a day where you just get so sick and tired of your own baloney that you're just going to be like, all right, we need to find a new system that actually works because I can't keep putting myself in the same cycle. But you just have to, adjust and tailor it to your own needs and what your personal needs are. And my last tip is practice being more aggressive rather than passive. So for example, if you're trying to decide between two food places and you're like, do I want Italian food or do I want Mexican food? Instead of spending 30, 45 minutes, whatever, trying to decide which one you want, just pick one and move on. Like practice making quick decisions when it comes to small stuff. Obviously not for things that you have to think out more, but for the smaller things, practice just making a snap decision. Do I want to lay in bed and scroll or do I want to take a walk? Boom, I'm going to put my sneakers on and go take a walk. Do I want to wipe my makeup off and take a shower or do I want to lay here for another 10 minutes? No, I'm going to go get up and take a shower. Just practice making quick decisions instead of deliberating, should I do this? Should I do that? But when you learn how to make a decision and act on it right then and there, you actually start to trust yourself more. And you know that even no matter how little the task is, sometimes just racking up small little achievements throughout the day gives you more confidence to go for what you're working towards, because you kind of get that dopamine hit of, oh, I achieved this, I leveled up, I did that. All right, you guys, that is the end of this episode. I hope these tips helped you. I am also going to leave a couple of articles and resources down in the description box just in case you guys want more info on this topic. But yeah, I hope these tips were helpful. If there's more videos you guys want me to do, make sure you leave me some suggestions in the comments down below. I am always interested in your guys' input because I want this to be a community space for all of us. And speaking of community, make sure you are checking the community tab on the Boudoir YouTube channel, because I will often do polls and I will give you sneak peeks of what the episode is going to be about for the following week. So make sure you're interacting there because I love hearing your guys' input. All right, that's going to do it for me this week. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I will see you guys next week and I will talk to you soon. Bye.